If you stopped working today, like if you actually stopped, no calls, no emails, no showing up, would your business still make money or would everything just stop?
Well, ultimately they think that if they stop, that it would kind of keep going. And I've talking to you about this even before we were getting this together. Is I went through this series. Like I took a year off to find out what the company can do, and it made an amount of money that was equal. And I realized I was somewhat wasting time, and that was keeping me in a job. And essentially, that really is what expanded what we're going to go into today.
Yeah, and most business owners think they own a business, but what they actually own is a job.
Which is what I realized I had. I was doing a bunch of work, wasn't even making any more money than the business could make on its own.
And just so you know, the statistics are that 80% of businesses never sell. It's not because they're bad. It's not because they didn't work hard, but it was never built to be sellable in the first place. So you can be great at making money and you can be great at, looking successful, but if the business depends on you, it has very little value. And there's really only 4 ways to actually get leads. So let's talk about the 4 different main platforms that you can get leads.
Get leads?
Mm-hmm. Like warm outreach, cold outreach. They can do paid ads, or like organic.
Okay, so they're trying to get the customer acquisition, you mean? So,
yes.
So running through those different ways that they're going to reach out. You got your sphere of influence, which is your warm outreach because you already know them. Your cold outreach is like mass emails, mass text, and mailing list of things like that. So, and then obviously you can do content to driving people that way. Mm-hmm.
So that is something that you want to get to. So now let's dive in. With corporate model.
All right, so if you're listening to this right now is when you got to stop. If you're driving in the car, you're doing something else, you have to stop. You have to pay attention to this part right here. Get a notepad and you want to kind of write this out because ultimately you can grow your business. You stop doing everything we've been talking about. And you start scaling everything we've been talking about. But to do that, you start setting up new locations. But to do that comes with problems. And those problems exist in different things. So you've got a corporate model. A corporate model is you got to set up a new office, you got to set up a new building, you got to set up a new location, you've got a new power bill, a phone bill, electric bill, you've got employees, you've got build out. All of that is what's in there. But again, going back to even that, we were talking about the door knocking for the construction site, for the construction company. If you do that, you know what your hard cost is. Then you know that you get all the revenue of that marketing, that warm outreach, that cold outreach, all of those sales, all of that stuff, all of that money is yours, and it has a huge upside selling it on the other side.
Okay, so I want to give people a couple of examples of the corporate model. Publix, give a couple more of the corporate model.
Well, there's other ones where they have them, like I think Inspired Brands owns like Dunkin' Donuts, a couple other companies of whatever Jimmy John's. So all those are owned, they're corporate companies that are owned by a main brand, but they're still corporate companies.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the pros and cons of each one of these, what the good sides are, what the bad sides. So anything else on the corporate model that you want to
Well, I mean, the
talk
corporate
about?
sells with a higher multiple, right? So you have more control because you own it. You put like a manager in place and somebody that runs that location, and then it operates on it. Now, a lot of times you can run this, you can still run it even similar to a franchise because you can have a corporate spot. So for example, Dunkin' Donuts doesn't make their donuts there in-house. Those are all distributed in from somewhere else. So that's a corporate model that has a national distribution of wherever it is, and they put out all the stuff there. So that's...
Yeah. So now the second one let's talk about is the franchise model.
I don't know much about this because we've only had over 100 of those, and to make the Inc. 5000, and top 500 franchises in the country. I mean, not to brag, but they say franchising is tough, right? And so
wait, I do need to say something.
Okay.
Less than 5% of the people will ever create a franchise that creates more than 100. So you did
5%. No, I know. That's what I say. So this is what I said.
Over 100.
It comes with a challenge because to do that is really, really difficult, right? And but to go do it, it's easier for you because you don't have to build out the cost and all the things that go on with opening a new location. You're actually getting paid to open the location, but you also just turned around and the royalties you get back are way smaller. So if the corporate model makes you $20,000 a month, why do you want to take $2,000 a month, right? And so that's a part of this. So franchising can seem like a great idea, but that is definitely a part that gets a little more difficult when you're looking at doing this model. At the same time, you lose control. Those franchisees don't do it like you would do it, right? So coming off the Dunkin' Donuts, Imagine they didn't make the donuts like all the people that they corporately ship them in. Imagine Starbucks, where the coffee is all made the same when they ship it all in. Now I know that's a publicly traded company, but they're still corporate type stores.
Anyway, so CrossFit's a licensing model, and then so they have two of those. So they give you the name and they charge a fee, but they don't have any business system. So they are just like, run the company however you want. You're just getting to use the CrossFit logo and name, and they're going to charge a fee. So let's expand on the licensing model.
Well, I mean, I love a licensing model. Again, the trade-off is if you're going to use our system, then you're a franchise. If you're going to go and you're not using our system, but you're going to use our name and you're going to pay that fee, and that fee adds up to, again, more than $600 in the first, I think it's 90 days or 6 months, whatever that number is. Just ultimately, if you get close to that, I don't even do it. So that's why I don't know exactly that. This is what we help people navigate. How do I start adding money into running leads, to getting new leads?
Yeah, and I'll just give you some easy math. So like, for example, like if I was looking at doing the corporate model, I would first say, okay, how low is the build out? Like we just told you, we went out to dinner with someone who was $1 million to open the store. And he
so
actually
that's why
has,
he's
what does he have,
franchising.
like 6 stores or something like that? But still, that's astronomical. So in my opinion, if you've got $40,000 to build out a location, or 50,000, something like that, anything more than that, it really gets expensive. And then it also would need to generate at least about $400,000 a year in profit. And then if it had 400,000 in profit and it only cost me 40,000 to build it out, in that scenario, I'd be like, all right, let's go for the corporate model.
Well, because what happens is, and I know we've talked about this on other things, the cost of goods sold when you run a lead, to getting the lead, to selling it, to the lifetime value, right? Well, that same math works in the corporate model. It's the cost of a new location to the lifetime value of that location. It's the same game. And it's the same when you run it on franchising and potentially in licensing.
So, and a lot of times, some of the biggest brands in the world, they actually start out as private, and then they realize, you know what? We need to turn this around. Just like this guy, he opened up 6 locations, figured out it's going to cost me $800,000 every time I open up another one. This is not sustainable. Let me go ahead and start franchising it.